Hey, it's as you can tell from the beard, it's been a while. Sorry about that. Apologies. I felt 3 days ago I started to feel really bad. I realized it had been a while since we've done one of these little videos, and the only time I do these videos is when I'm sitting around bitching about my boat, which makes you like my sounding board. And you're more than that. We're gonna do a little catch up, and then I swear I'm gonna start doing these once a week. It just that all of a sudden I started to slowly get the hang of this boat thing, and things stopped going wrong, and I stopped being stranded, and I just started going, and it was kind of like sun up to sundown every night, and a lot of those nights kind of on anchor without power. So anyway, those are excuses, and welcome back. Where do we start? Where did I leave? I think we left last possibly in the town of Southport, North Carolina. Cute little town. And while I was there, I had done extensive research. I mean, I was just getting so tired and beat down with running aground and shoaling, and this is not kind of what I envisioned. Sorry, the ICW, just watching my charts, watching the horizon, looking out for shallow depths, looking at my it's constantly, I don't get to sit back and enjoy boating, so it really kind of got me down. So after leaving Southport, there was this just terrible part of shoaling on the ICW, on the Intercoastal Waterway. And so I spent like a good 2 hours doing my research. I looked at the charts. I went online and asked questions. I even wrote down the coordinates on my hand so I wouldn't forget. Downloaded a satellite image from the Coast Guard, which might be illegal. If it is, I'm sorry. But basically, I just wanted to be prepared. So I left Southport, beautiful, starting to get the hang of it, like I mentioned. Got to that shoaling part, and don't want to brag, but guess what? I ran aground again. It's a beautiful day, watching all the boats go by. Except for me, because I ran aground, and everybody else is fine, because I'm terrible at this. Great. Killing me. I mean, I when it happens, you force yourself to have a sense of humor about it. But it really starts to wear on you day after day. Like you wake up. It's bad enough you're waking up and it's freezing and you can see your breath and you're under 3 blankets, but then you just wake up with this dread about what's going to go wrong today. How am I going to mess up today? Is Towboat US going to drop my contract today and never pick me up again? You know what I mean? So it really starts to get you down. And I think that's why I need to keep doing these videos. I want to show the real thing, and I want to talk about the real thing. And the real thing was that it was beating me down. It was really beating me down every single day, freezing, running aground, just feeling like an asshole. So finally got out of that, and finally got out of North Carolina. And North Carolina was very good to me. I made many good friends there. I was there for a year and a half, almost 2 years. I learned a lot, and I know it's unfair to say, because I was just now starting out as a boater, really. But, I kind of viewed North Carolina as my bad luck. And if I could just get over state lines, things would open up. And then finally, it opened up on my little chart plotter there. It shows the line. And it's like, wow, we're in South Carolina. And it changed a little bit. The river, the ICW kind of takes a bend. And then you're passing all of these little bars along the way. And you get to this great marina. And you're writing down your address or whatever, and you forget you're in South Carolina now, you know what I mean? So super exciting. Like I said, a year and a half, almost 2 years in North Carolina. So to cross state lines might not seem like a big deal, but it really was to me. However, my exaltations and my exuberance was to be very short-lived, because right past where I got to in South Carolina, that very next day was the dreaded rock pile. And I think every single person that's taken the ICW will agree that this is the scariest, most dangerous, literally can sink your boat spots along the way. It's just this, it's about a 2 or 3 mile stretch, jagged rocks sticking out. And if that wasn't bad enough, it's a very narrow, very narrow lane. And, you see these pictures of boats that have made a bad decision and they just end up on the rocks, and that's it. The boat is screwed. And if a barge is coming your way, you have to turn around, because the wake from the barge will put you kind of into the rock pile. But then again, there's not really much room to turn around. So it's just this super stressful thing. I ask every single person, didn't sleep well that night. Woke up the next morning and, what was I eating? My breakfast was like Ritz crackers, Imodium AD, and wet wipes to tell you where my tummy was at the exact moment. I was they say to get on the radio about a mile out. I was on the radio about 5 miles out, as long as my little VHF was, would reach. Are there any barges coming? Northbound barges, are you coming? Did that all the way, got to the rock pile intentionally at low tide, and always with low tide, high tide. It's a trade-off. High tide, lots of water, you can't see anything. Low tide, not much water, you can see it. I chose to go through during low tide because my little boat draws only 4. But beneath the water, it's only 4 feet. Super slow. I mean, I was going like maybe a mile and a half, and you can just see these. It was very Princess Bride-ish, it just kind of jagged out of the way, and you're just, obviously I didn't take any videos. I'll show some pirated photos here. And you're just going and just creeping along, and your depth sounder is reading like 6 and 5 and getting really, really close to running aground. And this is not a place, obviously, you want to run aground because it's all rock. So when I've been running aground, it's been sand. You run aground on rock, you're looking at expensive fiberglass work, if not a hole in your boat. So creeping along, didn't pass one boat the entire way. Obviously, I made it. The boat, Odyssey, is still fun. And that was, I don't even know what the word is. I'm brain dead today, but that was pinnacle number 2, I guess I'll say. That was the second mountain. Get out of North Carolina, get past the rock pile, and funnily enough, the juxtaposition of the most scary part along the ICW next to possibly the most beautiful part along the ICW, the Waccamaw River, was amazing. So I went from shitting myself with the rock pile to all of a sudden, the Waccamaw River opens up, and it's a lot of water, and it's the trees, this canopy of trees, and it's quiet, and for the first time, I could enjoy boating. And what you have to realize, like I mentioned earlier, is that every single day, I'm out there in the cockpit, okay? Because of the depths, because of the shoaling, because of the currents, I can't put my autopilot on. My autopilot isn't smart enough to figure out, so I'm out there. As soon as I get out there, as soon as I throw anchor down, I'm out there 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day. I have to snack on the boat. I have to do everything. I have to pee on the boat, which is a super hard thing. Basically, I have to lean back on my tiller, use this hand for things, and use the other thing to hold a bucket all the while. I'm like, so you can imagine if you see me from the shore and I'm like rubbing up against a tiller with my pants down, it's not pretty. Anyway, so to be able to actually sit back and go down underneath and grab a water and come back without fear of crashing all in the Waccamaw River, this beautiful serene place, was very, very good. Right off the Waccamaw, I found this just beautiful little marina right there in the middle of nothing. I was just one of a few boats, and I decided to take advantage of being in that area, and I had the boatyard owner's son drive me to the Atalaya Castle. The Atalaya Castle it's this Moorish marvel right inside, almost like a state park, but it's hidden. A lot of people haven't heard about it. It's absolutely amazing, and I did a photo gallery. I've been doing a lot of photo galleries on the site, which is well worth a look. It's just you forget that things like this exist in America. You know what I mean? Moorish to be one thing, and a castle as another. But if you're ever in the area, give it a look. If not, like I said, check it out on the website. And like I mentioned, the juxtaposition of happiness and horror. What's the great saying about boats? It's constant boredom punctuated with the occasional moment of terror. That's sailing, and that's exactly what I went through. So Waccamaw River, Atalaya Castle, and then of course horror. I was about to leave the next morning and continue down the Waccamaw River en route to Charleston, and I'm undoing my dock line from the pylon, and basically a splinter about half an inch long goes through my finger and underneath my nail and disappears. This is a torture mechanism. I was within 30 seconds, I was giving up my mom's Social Security number. It was just the type of pain, chills. I could have fainted, but I forced myself to stay up. There's nobody around. And so I have to do surgery on myself. And I realized that I have to, it can't break off. If it breaks off, I'm never going to get it out. And I have to wait for it to absorb or disintegrate or whatever underneath my nail, which would be like a month of complete agony. So got the tweezers and I like bored into my finger, like complete, like blood and flesh, and I yanked it out, and like you get that, like even talking about it now, like gives me chills. Pull it out. Doesn't look as it doesn't look like anything in the pictures, but I mean, I still have a. You can see I still have a kind of a scab line, I guess you can call it, underneath the nail. So anyway, got over that and got to a place called McClellanville. Now I wrote about McClellanville on the site, kind of in detail with a lot of pictures, but the crazy thing about McClellanville is that it's just this random place, and this I stopped there to get diesel and to eat at this little snack shop whose name escapes me, but I had the most unbelievable. It was like a shrimp and black bean reduction salad or something like that. Again, I'll put the name right here. Sorry about I forgot your name, but you know it seemed like such an interesting town, so I started walking around and it was just all of these big oak and Spanish moss lined tree or Spanish moss on oak trees lining the street. Sorry, got a lot to cover, a lot to remember. And so I walked around, and then I talked to a local, and they were like, "Well, you have to see the abandoned castle." And so I walked to the abandoned castle, and it was a real thing. And it was just one of those moments where this is a place I've never heard of, that nobody's ever heard of, and I pulled up on my boat and I was able to explore it and meet new faces and try new things and see new marvels, and it just really, it was only about 3 hours that I was there, but I was like, this is really kind of what the boat adventure is all about. Obviously, going to the pretty places that we've always wanted to go to, but the unknown places that just it was a great day. And then I went out and I anchored in the middle of nowhere. It was just almost like this little sound. I mean, and just the sunrise the next morning, it just looked like a nuclear explosion about to happen. And you're just out there with the animals and your anchor, and it's warm enough to grill. And I've got my little wine. I love that. Has this cost a shitload of money? Yes. But it's just slowly starting to pay for itself. And moments like this, which ironically take no money, are starting to happen more often. So that was really, really cool. And oh yeah, well after that, it would have been a major milestone for the boat, getting into the first major port, Charleston. Everybody loves Charleston. Again, very few pictures. I think I took like a picture when when it was just in the distance, because I'm like froggering between cruise ships and barges and speedboats and sailing classes, and the current's super strong. And so, anyway, I got myself into Charleston, spent a few days in Charleston, a lot of photos up there. Charleston, pretty city. You did one of the top 5 pretty cities in the U.S., I think. But I have never been inspired by Charleston, and this is kind of going back to the kind of being honest about Charleston's a pretty place, but I think I've always felt that's about it. Great food, obviously the best restaurant in the country, Husk, which was named best restaurant in the country, I think in 2011. History, but it's never took. Weirdly enough, a place that always has was a little bit further down the road, which is why I was kind of saving my money so I could spend time there. Stopped in cute little town of Beaufort for a night. Super excited about one of the best snacks Denver and I had last year. Was at this place called the Iron Bull Pub or the Bull Tavern, whatever. So I got there and I showered, and I intentionally didn't eat lunch, and of course it was closed because it was Sunday and it's off season. So fortunately, another friend of mine, Chris, came to the rescue and sent me to the Low Country Produce, which I highly suggest if you're a snacker. They do this ooey gooey, which is like pimento cheese and bacon. I don't know. You take a picture, look it up. And then from there, it was into what I consider to be the prettiest city in the United States, where we are right now, Savannah. Unbelievable. Like I went through this a long time ago when I was in Myanmar, Burma, and there's this place called Bagan, and I'm going to show you a photo right now that is not mine. But it really just, it's the one photo I show everybody when I say you have to go to Bagan. It's just the most amazing, inexplicable place. And so I got to Bagan and I walked around. I had my little video thing and I had my little camera. And I was so frustrated that I couldn't capture the essence of Bagan to show people. It was just the weather and the sounds and the smells and the 360 degrees, and the camera can never be as good as the human eyeball, stuff like that. And I went through the same thing my second day in Savannah. Spring was here. Breeze was coming through. And I just walked from Forsyth up north through all the squares with the coffee and came back. And it was just, I was frustrated that I could not, I'm a decent rider, and I couldn't sum up Savannah. And next day was St. Patty's, which was just a nightmare publicly. Fortunately, I had a friend of a friend who are very well to do, and so I got to go from fabulous house to fabulous house and drink champagne and eat caviar, or I don't know. I didn't know what you did with caviar. I just put it in my pocket and brought it back. I had budgeted for a week here, and I woke up the final day, and I was just so sad to leave Savannah because it was just amazing. And oh, I didn't mention this. Getting into Savannah, sorry, backing up, terrible storyteller. Maybe I'm not a good writer. Getting into Savannah, you take a left, or turn to port at the Garden of Good and Evil. Like, you're coming in, and then you turn to port, and there's the Garden of Good and Evil with the cemeteries and stuff like that. So obviously that's adding to my love of Savannah. And I just woke up, and I was super sad to leave, and I said, wait a second. I live on a boat and I don't have anywhere to go. So I'm going to stay another week. And so I've stayed another week in Savannah and had the most unbelievable time. Met some of just the most wonderful people. Like, I have 10 new people I can call my friends now, and they've shown me around, and they've fed me. When I've, for about 3 days, I lived on change from my bag. I would change to take the bus in, change for a little coffee, change out. I would pack my lunch. And so I was, once again taken under a lot of people's wing here to enjoy Savannah. But it's just the most unbelievable time to be here, the most unbelievable city. And yesterday, Easter Sunday, I attended one of the few white boys who attended the Easter celebration, the Easter sermon at the First African Baptist Church. It was established like in 1777, the most historical. You have never seen some of the stories like that of coming out of here. They used to hide the slaves in there and their secret messages about which way to go, and unbelievable. And just Easter service, I was just sitting up there and just taking all this in, and I have to show you a clip. You need to run quickly and tell somebody else, it was love that put him on the cross. It was love that allowed you to be healed. It was love that you put on the ground that gave you the truth. You made it all that happen. And all that is happening. And all that is happening. Just so powerful, and I'm a pastor's kid. I rebelled against the church very, very early, and just to be reminded about gospel and fellowship and celebration, it moved me to tears at the end of it. Like, literally, the pastor was jumping and singing around and just saying, he's alive, he's alive. And again, this isn't about what you believe or what I believe or whatever. It's just about the celebration of gospel and the coming together of black and white and Hispanic and Asian in the most unbelievably historical church, and just celebrating. And that's what it was, just celebration. And to have that here in Savannah on Easter in the springtime, when I got here on my boat, is just, you just walk around going, are you fucking kidding me? You know what I mean? Like, this is insane. And I don't want anybody to ever think that I spend, maybe there's the occasional day where I don't realize it, but it's just insane to have this opportunity. And we're only a few months in, and we're not even out of the country yet. But Savannah really just reminded me about what a lucky son of a bitch I am. And I would not be here if it weren't for people like you supporting in all sorts of ways. So we leave on Wednesday. Today's like really kind of the last full day. Tomorrow I have to do some boat work. And heading down south. Georgia's supposed to be a nightmare as far as shoaling as well. So maybe there'll be a lot more time for videos. But anyway, yeah, apologies it took so long. Hope this was a decent catch up. The next ones will only be 5 minutes long. I won't take up your entire day. And I'm going to go walk around Savannah and do absolutely nothing except sit in every square, read my book, have a little coffee, and just enjoy one of the greatest cities in the U.S. And I do hope if you have the opportunity, you do come down here, and we'll talk to you real soon. Sorry this was so long. See you later.